Forget the myths for a moment and look at the landscape. Stonehenge isn't alone. It's the heart of a massive ceremonial world. See these faint lines from above? They're burial mounds, ancient avenues, and forgotten timber circles, all connected. This wasn't random. It was a grand design. Excavations show signs of huge feasts, tools from far away, and a society organized enough to build across generations, all without a single written word. They weren't slaves, but believers, united by a purpose so strong it could move mountains. Or in T's case, giant bluestones from over 150 miles away. That journey alone, across land and water, required incredible engineering and cooperation. Why? We don't know for sure. But it tells us these weren't primitive people. They were inheritors of ancient knowledge, mapping their beliefs onto the very land they lived on. Ever wonder if Stonehenge is just the tip of the iceberg? What if it's not the beginning of a story, but the end of one? New research suggests the site was sacred thousands of years before the first stones were raised. Imagine wooden posts and earthworks marking this spot, a tradition already ancient when the famous monument was built. This wasn't an invention, but an inheritance, a legacy of beliefs and knowledge passed down through generations. Ancient European myths tell of ancestral builders who brought order and calendars after a great catastrophe. Perhaps these aren't just stories. They might be fragmented memories of a real, displaced culture, one that saw its world transformed by the end of the last ice age. As rising seas and changing climates reshaped their lands, they concentrated their wisdom into enduring stone, creating a calendar to navigate uncertain times. Stonehenge may be the last visible echo of a forgotten world, a lonely survivor whose true meaning was lost with the culture that created it. Hey everyone! What if everything we thought we knew about Stonehenge was just the beginning? Modern technology isn't solving its mysteries. It's making them deeper. Ground-penetrating radar has found huge buried pits and rings, hinting at earlier versions of the site that were deliberately erased. It seems Stonehenge wasn't built in one go, but was a living project, redesigned over centuries. And it gets wilder. Laser scanning shows the stones don't just align with the sun, but with lunar cycles that happen only every 18 years. This wasn't just building, it was a multi-generational investment in observing the cosmos, requiring knowledge passed down for lifetimes. The builders weren't primitive, they were mapping time itself into stone. Stonehenge wasn't just a place, but a process, a profound cultural statement we're only now starting to appreciate. When we talk about written history, Stonehenge presents a paradox. Its builders left no texts, yet later cultures wrote endlessly about it. The Romans saw it as ancient, and medieval monks filled the silence with tales of giants and magic. This suggests that without the original builders' words, explanation replaced true knowledge. Perhaps the lack of writing wasn't ignorance, but a deliberate choice. Oral cultures encode meaning through ritual, not records. When those rituals stopped, the meaning collapsed, leaving the stones open to any and all interpretations. Archaeology shows that around the time construction ceased, huge cultural shifts were happening: climate change, new populations, and different beliefs. The builder's worldview may have simply become obsolete. We can replicate how they moved to the stones, but we can't replicate why it mattered so much. The real mystery isn't the engineering. It's how quickly meaning can vanish when a culture disappears. Look closer at Stonehenge, and you'll see a story that echoes across the ancient world. Monumental sites like this often appear suddenly, only to fall silent later. This wasn't isolated genius. It was a shared response to instability. These builders were part of a wider tradition that valued gathering, memory, and cosmic alignment. When climate, migration, or beliefs shifted, these traditions simply dissolved, leaving behind stone punctuation marks in history. Stonehenge wasn't an anomaly. It was a human instinct to create meaning during uncertain times. As the climate cooled and resources dwindled, large communal rituals lost their priority. Survival meant adapting, and the great stones became less relevant. Their abandonment wasn't a failure, but a smart response to a changing world. The builders weren't a mystery. They just organized life differently, using social and environmental knowledge. Stonehenge remains, reminding us that intelligence leaves many kinds of evidence, and some fade much faster than rock. As we look closer at Stonehenge, it's not so much a mystery of construction as it is a lesson in how knowledge can be lost. Imagine a time when all wisdom lived in people, passed down through stories and ceremonies. This system worked for generations until it didn't. When disaster struck, the chain of knowledge broke, leaving behind stones without instructions. Today, we use technology to try and hear those lost echoes. We simulate the acoustics, discovering how the stones amplify voices and drums. This suggests Stonehenge was built for immersive, collective experiences, a place to synchronize a community and forge memories. It wasn't an isolated marvel, but likely an anchor of a widespread tradition, a network that has since vanished. We often try to claim Stonehenge, fitting it into our own national or scientific narratives. But maybe the real key is to let go, to accept that the builder's world was fundamentally different from ours. The mystery remains, not because the answers are hidden, but because we've forgotten the questions they were trying to answer. Have we been asking the wrong questions about Stonehenge? What if it's not a riddle to be solved, but a warning encoded in stone? Look at it, sitting on this vast plain. Against the backdrop of deep time, our own existence seems so fragile. The people who built this lived with an awareness of impermanence, shaped by memories of floods, cold, and constant migration. What if Stonehenge wasn't about dominating nature, but negotiating with it, aligning human life with forces far bigger than any one society? Modern climate science backs this up. The builders lived on a knife's edge, where small environmental shifts had huge consequences. Construction often ramped up during times of climate stress. It was a stable reference point in a chaotic world, a way to impose order by marking the sun and moon's predictable cycles. As the final scene unfolds, Stonehenge stands unchanged, a structure older than nations and beliefs, still aligned to skies that continue their cycles without pause. The camera circles slowly, emphasizing endurance. The builders succeeded in their deepest aim, to outlast themselves. They left no names or instructions, only a structure capable of carrying meaning forward through experience, not words. The questions we ask of it reveal our own priorities. We ask how the stones were moved because we value tools, and why records are missing because we trust writing over memory. The builders trusted the continuity of practice, not the permanence of institutions. Their monument confuses us because it refuses to explain itself, demanding patience instead of answers. Stonehenge doesn't argue, it endures. It asks whether wisdom can exist briefly, fulfill its role, and then dissolve. Perhaps the true mystery is not how they built it, but what they understood that we've forgotten.